Hello, everybody. Welcome to Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. We're going to have a story about a couple of important broadcasters right here in the Truckee Meadows, so stay tuned. We'll be back with the whole story right after this.
Hi there, I'm Roy Marshall of the Marshall Mint in Virginia City, Nevada. I'm proud to announce that our 7-ingot set honoring the V&T Railroad is now finished.
That's right, Roy. These beautiful 999 silver ingots celebrate the engines from the world-famous V&T Railroad and honor Nevada's sesquicentennial. These limited edition treasures can be purchased only at the Marshall Mint in Virginia City, Nevada.
Or visit us at marshallmint.com to get yours today.
Get the Charter Spectrum Triple Play. It's more than meets the eye. With over 200 free HD channels available, it's the most HD you can get. Instant access to over 10,000 on-demand movies and shows. Plus the Charter app for live TV that jumps to mobile devices in any room. All that for $29.99 a month. Switch to Charter Spectrum Internet, faster than the speed of WOW. Take off with 60 megs of speed, bandwidth that lets multi-people multitask, stream movies, play games, watch videos, and share vines all at once. No slowdowns. Shazam! For only $29.99 a month. Just call 877-959-1634. Then pick up Charter Spectrum Voice for unlimited local and long-distance calling. And catch this. No drop calls. Stuck in a contract? Charter pays up to $500 to get you out. Charter Spectrum TV, Internet, and Voice, $29.99 a month each. Call 877-959-1634. See for yourself. Call Charter today.
Fun, fashionable furs. Epitome of glamour for decades. Designer lines for women and men. Only the best will do. William Furs is the ultimate shopping experience for Reno, with furs, accessories, and great gift ideas. Winter is here. Enjoy savings of 20 to 50% off. Treat yourself or your loved ones and choose from thousands of pieces in our beautiful new inventory. William Furs, a full-service fur salon since 1977.
Welcome to Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. I'm John O'Brien, the host of the show, and our good friend Roy Marshall is out of town, not with us today, but here in spirit. But in place of him, we have a couple of broadcasters that you'll hear on the air almost every day of the week. And one of them you might recognize rather readily, and that's Eddie Floyd. He's been around forever here in the Truckee Meadows, so we'll let him take the place of Roy Marshall. Welcome, Eddie, to the show.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, good to have you with us. And we also have a sidekick of Eddie with us today, too, and this is Dennis Romeo. And Dennis, not only a broadcaster, but involved with a lot of things in the community, and has a great history to tell as well. So we're going to get into all of that just in a few minutes. As you know, Eddie, because you know the show, you've helped us with some guests and different things like that. But the whole mission of our show is to build pride in Nevada and living here in Nevada.
Right.
Roy always talks about how Texas exudes that pride of being from Texas, and he felt that there was a need for that same thing here in Nevada. And we have such great stories to tell and such great individuals, right? And you do that on your radio shows many times, and we try to do the same thing here. I
think you do a great job. As a matter of fact, one thing, John, that I've been very impressed with is the job telling Nevada and selling Nevada to the world with your shows, Old Tales of Nevada. You and Roy and the rest of the crew do such a great job. So many wonderful guests have been on. I don't miss an episode, truly.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Actually, we run a number of times on the week, so people know. We run Sunday mornings at 7 o'clock, and if you have Charter, we're on at 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock on channel 790, which is the CW network. And if you have the other delivery systems, we're on channel 46 at 7 o'clock.
And John, I also want you to know that we're very honored. America Matters Media is very honored to also carry the audio version of Old Tales of Nevada on several radio stations throughout the great state of Nevada.
Right. Do you know the time when it runs?
Yes, I do. It runs on 6 o'clock on Saturdays, and during the week it airs twice on two different radio stations, one on Renegade Floyd Radio, 101.3 FM here in northern Nevada, and also again on NBC, which is 1060 AM. So, yeah, we've got Old Tales of Nevada, part of America Matters Media family of talk shows.
We need to get John into our studio. So
yeah, there you go. We're going to have some fun and going back and forth for sure. I love broadcasting. I started out in radio myself back in 1974.
I remember, John.
Go back that far.
That's
you can still remember.
That's really old.
Yeah, that's really old. But between TV and radio, I actually owned a radio station up in Montana for about 5 years.
Wow.
AM daytimer. Remember the daytimers?
Then you know what Dennis and I know. Radio is not a profession. It's a disease.
It's a disease. Yeah. Well, it just media in general. Once you're into media and broadcasting, whether TV or radio, it seems to just envelop you, and it's hard to leave because it's so much fun.
Absolutely.
And you're always on the cutting edge of whatever's going on in town. It's very exciting, very creative. So I love broadcasting. You know, it's a great profession to be in. Encourage all the young ones to do it.
I think so. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, I started right here locally. And my first, if you will, start with media was the old Fox 21 television. I did the Saturday night movie, and then they realized my face deserved on radio.
Yeah, you have a great face for radio. That's for
yeah.
sure. And how about you? Now, you started, Dennis, not here in Reno, but you hail from a different part of the country altogether, don't you?
I do. I was born in Toledo, Ohio, High Glass City. Grew up in South Bend, Indiana, big Notre Dame fan.
Right.
But I went into the military in 1968.
As many of us did.
Yes. Yeah. And I had an opportunity in 1969 to do some work for the radio station, American Forces Radio and Television.
Okay.
And about April, May of that year, the DJ, we used to call them DJs back then.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, the DJ, since we were playing top 40 stuff, he got out and said, you know, can you cover for me for a while? And I did. And the next morning at 4 a.m., I was doing a morning top 40 show on American Forces Radio.
Over in Vietnam.
Off the coast of Vietnam.
You were on air carrier. I understand.
Our studios were in an aircraft carrier task force. And it was AFRTS, which is different than AFVN. But those of you that understand that would know. I also did a little bit of TV work for there.
Okay. A
lot of the athletic stuff, sports competition. 1971, I was the prime drive guy, 5 to 8 p.m. on AFRTS off the coast of Vietnam.
Wonderful. And Good Morning Vietnam, huh?
Yeah, he was a few years before me. But,
yeah, what's the name of that guy, by the way? They did a movie.
Adrian Cronauer.
Okay. And
a legend.
Who's the actor that played that?
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams, no longer with us, but did a great job on that show. For sure.
And I will tell you, my time there was just as much fun as what he had. Now, I don't know about anyone else's experience, but that's where I got the bug.
Right? Yeah.
Where I was bitten by that radio mosquito that said, you know, you're going to do this. So.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. So, yeah, that's true. Like I said, once you're in it, it's just hard to give up. So then you went to, what, Southern California when you got out of the...
Yeah, I stayed in Southern California. I was a Navy. Went to the San Bernardino area. Was a telecommunications major down in San Bernardino. Worked a couple radio stations, and you know, quite frankly, for you young guys, don't pay any attention. There wasn't a lot of money in it.
Never is, unless you're
selling.
in a big market.
Yeah, and that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to buy me, change my name, and ship me to New Mexico to season me.
Ah, okay.
And I went, don't care to do that.
Yeah.
Worked for a couple more years down there, and then came up here on vacation. Loved Reno.
What was it that you loved when you came on vacation? What was the thing that pulled you in?
Well, the first time I came up from Southern California, I took Highway 50 up from Carson City.
Okay.
Because my friend I was visiting lived in Lake Tahoe. And the first view of Lake Tahoe and the road around it at that time, and I just, oh my God, it's just so beautiful, and the people were different. The people were friendly, still are compared to most.
Very open community, I think. Reno's a very open community.
Reno is. It's you know, you don't need security guards around the mayor, councilman.
Right.
It's just a very caring and a very loving area.
Yeah.
And I stayed. I never went back.
Yeah, isn't that something? And we find that many of our guests, once they came over the hill, saw Reno, made it their aim to be a resident of Reno.
Absolutely.
By hook or by crook. Some of them just grabbed their families almost overnight and made the change to come down to Reno.
Ship it up.
Yeah, I came in '86. I came down from Montana, which in itself is a beautiful area. But when I came to Reno, I knew there was something about Reno that was special, different from other parts of the country. It truly is a big little city.
It is.
The biggest little city.
You have everything you need that a big city would want.
Right.
But you have the intimacy of a small city.
Exactly.
Even in the years that, Eddie, you've been here, I've been here, you've been here.
Yeah.
It's still a small town.
It is.
You feel that way.
Absolutely. You get away from the downtown area. It's very much a small town.
Very much.
And fairly conservative in its its viewpoint about growth and different things that come about that they have to make decisions on. So we're doing pretty good, old Reno town, right?
I think so.
I agree.
And definitely a need for broadcasting. And broadcasting has always been a big part of Reno, it seems, starting with what, KKOH?
First AM station, KKOH, and, per capita, it's funny you brought that up,
Yeah.
John, but per capita, Reno has more radio stations per capita than any other community in the nation.
Yeah, which it can be a blessing or a curse.
Yes, it can.
If you're selling airtime as an AE on a radio station, there is so much inventory to be had.
Absolutely.
You might have a great radio station, but you can never get the value
Right.
of what it's really worth because there's so much inventory. People could always buy around you.
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand. We had a lot of supply. And actually, it's still that way, isn't it, Eddie?
Yeah, it is. Where we've carved out a totally separate niche is we did something different years ago with America Matters Media, and it started in the Park Lane Mall.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I don't want the soundproof booths. I want to hear the baby crying.
Yeah.
I want to hear the lady sneeze or the man, cough in the back row because it's live radio. It's community radio. So I chose to originate in a mall. Started off in the Park Lane Mall, which is now that beautiful plateau of nothing on the corner of Main Street and Main Street.
It's like an island with nothing.
That's right.
They keep saying there's something going to go in there, but never happens.
It will. It's
eventually.
a beautiful corner because that truly is the corner of Main Street and Main Street. But then we were very fortunate because Rob Roth, the owner of Reno Town Mall, heard what we were doing at the Cordone Building, here in Reno, with Dave Asher and his Buy Local program.
Right.
And he was actually in the audience a couple of days, came up to me and said, if you'll bring America Matters Media and promote the Reno Town Mall, then I will give you the jewelry store. And of course, I thought he was kidding.
Yeah.
So I said, well, if you'll throw in utilities, you might have a deal. So he said, well, I was going to throw in utilities. And so I looked at him. We were there approximately 2.5 months, John, when he then came up and said, I'd like America Matters Media. Sign a lease.
Wonderful.
Sign a lease because we don't want you to leave. And that's when I knew that we were on to something with community radio. It's the town hall.
Yeah, and it's growing each month, each week.
Absolutely.
So, along with your group and all these other groups, there's plenty of radio in town. Of course, now we have lots of TV between our networks that are here and cable channels and Dish and Direct. There's all kinds of ways to get information out.
Right.
But local radio, I think, will never go away,
John, I like to tell the people that, and they do have a choice. They can see it tonight.
Yeah.
They can read it tomorrow, or they can listen to it right now.
Right now.
Because nothing has its finger on the pulse of any and everything taking place in the community or around the world like radio. For example, if you hear of any problem anywhere in the world, you're not going to run to your TV set. You're not going to go buy a newspaper. You're going to turn on the first radio you come to.
Exactly. You're right. We're going to take a break right now, but I want to come back and talk about some of the old signals that were in town, some of the old personalities that some of us all worked with, and Dennis, what experience you had here in the local market as well. So we'll be back with more Old Tales in Nevada, past and present, right after we hear from a couple of our great sponsors.
Fun, fashionable furs. Epitome of glamour for decades. Designer lines for women and men. Only the best will do. William Furs is the ultimate shopping experience for Reno, with furs, accessories, and great gift ideas. Winter is here. Enjoy savings of 20 to 50% off. Treat yourself or your loved ones and choose from thousands of pieces in our beautiful new inventory. William Furs, a full-service fur salon since 1977.
At Harry's Quality Cars, the 500 vehicles in stock speak for themselves.
Most of us have one owner car fax reports.
We all have warranties. I have very low mileage.
I'm the prettiest car in stock.
I'm muscle-bound and ready for the hills.
Harry's Quality Cars, local and family-owned for over 40 years on Kitski and Gentry and on South Virginia Street. Harry's cars really do speak for themselves.
Drive one of us home today!
Shoeman's Custom Cycle with a biker's bike shop. From the new set of pipes to custom renovation, building ultimate machines is our reputation. Feel the performance, experience the power. From chrome to leather, the selection doesn't quit. If it wasn't done to Shoeman's, it ain't. Shoeman's Custom Cycle with a biker's bike shop.
We've invested billions to bring you the most advanced network in the nation, Charter Spectrum. Get the most HD anywhere with Charter Spectrum TV. Over 200 high-def channels available, 10,000 instant on-demand choices, and the Charter app to watch live TV anywhere at home on your mobile devices. Just $29.99 a month. Call 866-517-6150 now. Charter Spectrum Internet accelerates you to incredible speeds. 60 megabits per second, 20 times faster than phone company DSL. Just $29.99 a month. And Charter Spectrum Voice delivers unlimited calling with none of the phone company's extra fees or taxes. Just $29.99 a month. Charter Spectrum. More free HD, faster internet, unlimited calling, and no contract to sign. Just $29.99 a month each. Call 866-517-6150 now. Charter Spectrum is here.
We're back here in Old Tales, Nevada, past and present. We're talking with a couple of old-time broadcasters right here in the Truckee Meadows, one being Eddie Floyd and the other Dennis Romeo. Great name for a guy, Romeo.
Well, it was a reputation.
Yeah, I can imagine as you were growing up, that had to be a great name.
Well, it's one of those, when you're young, it's a liability. As you get older, it becomes an asset.
That's for sure. So, getting back to you, Dennis, now you came to town in what year?
1974.
1974. Did you jump right into the radio business in those days, or were you into something else?
No, I was into raising a stepson, and there's, like we said earlier, there's not a lot of money in radio. I hate to keep repeating that, but I had to support a family, and you do what you have to do.
Right.
And I decided someday, believe it or not, someday I'm going to find, when I retire, Farmer Marlin's radio station in the middle of a field somewhere, and have fun and do radio the way I think it should be done.
Yeah.
And I'll be damned if I can say that. If the day I retired, I was doing a show on America Matters. I retired at 9 o'clock in the morning, came in to do a show at 11, and by 12 o'clock, Eddie had talked me into
doing a show,
doing shows every day. So, we started this together, the AM News thing, and it's the way radio should be.
Yeah, I'm a great fan of local radio, as I mentioned earlier. In fact, when I managed the KROW signal, which was 780 in those days, which is now KKOH signal, and I also managed the KNEV signal, which is 95.5, which is now Magic 95.
Right.
But we did very well with both stations back in the late 80s because we did local radio. I had a morning show. We had Ricky Randall was on there. Dick Thompson was the news guy. We had another guy on there, and we had them in the morning going back and forth, talking to their mama down there in Oklahoma, sitting on the porch, and we just had a great old time with that. And of course, Jack Costello, Jack Slothauer were on my FM side, and they came over from a great signal that you used to work for, right, Eddie? the KSRN signal.
KSRN signal.
Yeah.
That was the home of Bob Carroll, Lou Gutenberger, Jack Slothauer.
Right, right.
You had such a great group of people over there. And then Bob Carroll left KSRN and then came with me when I opened up KBDB here in Reno, a little local 1400 AM station.
Right.
And also I opened up KTKE. Those two stations we had, and it all started from one talk show. One talk show on KSRN called Nevada Matters. And believe it or not, the original talk show was not called Nevada Matters. The original talk show had to do with the manufactured housing industry, and the name of that talk show was Wheel Estate.
Wheel Estate. Oh, man.
Love it.
That's great.
But, John, you mentioned community radio, and what Dennis and I were talking about earlier is the fact that it is, if you will, the Kickstarter for any community from an economic standpoint. If you want to help your community, get involved with your local radio station, be it America Matters Media, be it KKOH. We don't care. We're not worried about the competition. We're worried about our community. And the State Department called me one day. Margaret at the State Department from Washington called and said, Eddie, would you mind if we bring 15 members of a delegation from Bangladesh to study America Matters Media Community Radio? We want to start that in Bangladesh to help them economically. And they did.
That's fantastic.
And so that made us very proud.
Yeah.
What were they thinking?
Yeah, what were they thinking? Yeah. Well, you got to start simple and work up from there. Yeah.
That's right.
But, Dennis, you worked for some good signals in town, too, didn't you, over the years at times?
No? I took a hiatus.
That's right. You went to Tumwa.
Yeah, I decided.
And tell us what Tumwa is for those who don't.
Truckee Meadows Water Authority. Yeah. Before that, it was Sierra Pacific Power.
Sierra Pacific Power,
and, I gave about 27 years. I'm thankful for them. They're good to me, and they do a good job in this community. Sierra Pacific, NV Energy now, and Tumwa.
Yeah.
But I always said, when I'm old enough and I can afford it, I'm going to get back into radio.
Yeah.
And I jumped both feet. And Eddie, when we wanted to do a show with no format, no content, we just sit in a mall and say we're going to let callers dictate what we're going to talk about. No one said it would work. No one.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, John, and I'm glad Dennis alluded to that, because when they first asked me to and Dennis to do drive time, Pacific time, drive time in the morning, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., I said, okay, but I'm sick and tired of the talking heads. Let's have a correspondent-driven talk show where we have people call in and give us the news, weather, sports, and events in their community. Well, guess what? We now, as of today, we have 48 foreign correspondents in 34 foreign countries, and as of today we have 1,342 correspondents in the United States, all actively involved in our morning
Wow.
AM
so it's
news.
pretty lively, fast-moving. Did we tell the people where they could find that show, by the way?
Yeah, let me tell them. 101.3 FM here locally in northern Nevada. And also, all you have to do is go to americamatters.us and pick it up on the web. The secret to it is, and why people love listening to it, is Dennis and I never know. Yesterday, Michael Martin Murphy, he calls in. Here's a musician who sang Wildfire. We don't know he's calling in.
Matt Barr.
Matt Barr, two times. And ready? And then one day, Dennis says to me, I say, Dennis, who do we have on line 7? He said, Eddie, on line 7 from Gainesville, Georgia, we have Jeff. Well, I start talking for just a moment or two before I realize we're talking to Jeff Foxworthy. He's calling AM News to give us an update from Gainesville, Georgia, the chicken capital of the world.
Oh, it's the chicken capital of the world. Did not know that.
Yeah, who did?
So that's great. And how long have you been doing that show?
We've been doing that show, are you ready?
Yeah.
1 year, 4 months, 1 week, and 5 days as of today, and it'll never last.
But who's counting?
Who's counting?
I give it 3 weeks tops.
Yeah. Well, radio in Reno has played a big part in a lot of the events that have become successful in Reno, and some of the more tragic events as well. You were mentioning, Eddie, how back in the day, there was a hijacking, right, that took place?
The very first skyjacking ever, and that was D.B. Cooper, and that plane landed right here in Reno and was covered by several of the old-time radio personalities.
Who in particular? Bob Carroll?
Bob Carroll was involved in that. Jack Slothauer was involved in that.
Was Jack Joseph around the area?
Well, he wasn't involved in that particular event, but he was around at the time. But yeah, they covered D.B. Cooper. Also, when Frank Sinatra Jr. was kidnapped, they covered that. They covered it live. And by the way, when I mentioned KBDB, I'll never forget the day I was at the ranch, at the Wainema Ranch, and my wife said, "You better come in here and look on the television." And that's when they flew into the Twin Towers. And then I got a phone call from then our sheriff, Washoe County, Dennis Balaam, God rest his soul. And Dennis and I did a weekly show called Inside the Sheriff's Office, and we immediately shut down the old Park Lane Mall, and we utilized 1400 AM as the emergency broadcast center for the Sheriff's Department, and we did that for a couple of days before everybody could sort through what really happened to America that day.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. And then there was the floods that we've had. For me, it was the 90s when the floods came on, and radio was right in the middle of that. KOH especially was big, but I think many of the radio stations broke away from their regular programming to be sure that people were informed and they didn't get places where they shouldn't have been.
And you know, to talk about our competitors, Dennis and I'll be the first ones to tell you, look at KKOH and what they do with the Toys for Tots and the Fill a Van and all the other radio stations. You know, you'll find that local radio, I don't care who it is, competitor, not competitor, anybody in that media seems to always reach out to help someone in the community from a charity standpoint, a nonprofit standpoint.
Well, I think that's the thing about radio. It can be very creative.
Yes.
It can use its time as it wills. Like you have total control over your inventory and what you do with it, compared to ABC, at KOLO, for example, where they have to play the network inventory. They have to do it. So that limits them as to how far they can reach out to the community. They do some good things, but you can do a lot of things as a radio station.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the people get to paint their picture of what you're talking about. You know, for example, John, I'm sure you've noticed by now, I'm a lot more handsome on radio.
Yes, you are. I mentioned that before. You got the face for radio.
That's true.
Yeah, and you do too, actually, Dennis. You know, I'm the only one that's a TV guy. Right?
That's right. You are. Handsome devil you are.
You make us look better.
That's right.
Well, you know, I tend to bring everybody up a little bit.
But you know, here's the other thing too, John, that is what I'm excited about. Old Tales of Nevada, for example, the team itself, you, Hugh Roy Marshall, Jim, the rest of the crew, do such a great job bringing Nevada to the public. We want to, at America Matters Media, extend to you and your crew that anytime you have a really special guest and you would like to utilize a live audience at the Reno Town Mall, it's yours.
Oh, super.
You just simply give us a call, and you and Jim.
Because we can move our studio anywhere. We're in the mansion right now.
Oh, yeah. Well,
we love. Jim's over there eating cupcakes made by Gloria.
That's right.
Of course, he didn't bring any down for us.
No.
But we're in this beautiful house where we do most of our shows, and of course, Roy lives here with Cynthia and the kids. And, but it's a great setting for us.
You know, not a bad shack.
And you know, to call it a house, this is a mansion.
A mansion,
this is a true description of a mansion.
But I just get so excited about the way radio has contributed to the growth of Reno, the enhancement of Reno, not only for events like the Reno Rodeo or the things they do down there on Virginia Street in the summertime, special events, but culturally they've really helped to get that word out. Nonprofits are adopted by radio stations all the time. And do you have one over there at the American Matters Radio?
We do. We obviously have one, and it works in conjunction, with a gentleman who's been a guest on Old Tales of Nevada, Dr. James Forsyth, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Probably the best, the number one. A couple of years ago, he was Oncologist of the Year, voted on by his peers.
Yeah.
And we work hand in hand with the Forsyth Wellness Center, who does hippotherapy.
Yeah.
Okay, don't let Dennis tell you what that is.
I don't know how they get this.
Yeah, get a hippo to help out
Hippo
there.
is Greek for horse, and hippopotamus means water horse.
Okay,
Dennis.
we're going to break there, guys. We got to take another stop here and visit some more of our good sponsors. So we'll be back with more Old Tales of Nevada, past and present, right after that.
Fun, fashionable furs. Epitome of glamour for decades. Designer lines for women and men. Only the best will do. William Furs is the ultimate shopping experience for Reno, with furs, accessories, and great gift ideas. Winter is here. Enjoy savings of 20 to 50% off. Treat yourself or your loved ones and choose from thousands of pieces in our beautiful new inventory. William Furs, a full-service fur salon since 1977.
Deluxe Travel has been serving the Northern Nevada business and leisure traveler for over 30 years. Make 2014 the year Deluxe Travel meets your travel needs. Don't be fooled that you can find better deals on internet travel sites. Deluxe Travel will always get the best prices and provide the personal service you deserve. Let Deluxe Travel send you on your travel destinations today. Deluxe Travel, the official travel agency for Old Tales in Nevada and most Reno businesses. Have a great trip.
At Harry's Quality Cars, the 500 vehicles in stock speak for themselves.
Most of us have one owner car fax reports.
We all have warranties. I have very low mileage.
I'm the prettiest car in stock.
I'm muscle bound and ready for the hills.
Harry's Quality Cars, local and family owned for over 40 years on Kitski and Gentry and on South Virginia Street. Harry's cars really do speak for themselves.
Drive one of us home today!
Hi, and welcome to Boutique Elegante. We're so excited about the new fall fashions. Of course, denim is still the key word for casual fall. Team with tunics or sweaters, you'll look great. Best over-cargo pants in the Loden for fall colors. Coat sweaters so perfect for fall weather, done in high-fashion designs. You'll find the perfect ensemble for your special evening at the theater, a cruise, Reno, or San Francisco. All of this and so much more at Boutique Elegante.
Welcome back to Old Tales Nevada, past and present. We're having a great conversation about broadcasting here in Northern Nevada, talking with Eddie Floyd and his sidekick on the radio every morning, and that is Dennis Romeo. But Dennis, you also do other shows on that network, and in fact, you have one coming up here very shortly. We're going to have to let you go, I guess.
24 minutes from now, yeah.
We'll have to have you back on, though, when you have more time.
It'd be my pleasure.
Yeah, so we're going to let you go, and we're going to just break for a few moments, and then we'll come back and we'll continue our story here with Eddie Floyd and pick his brain, and we'll get him to talk about you a little bit, too.
No,
all right?
Don't believe anything he says.
All right, so we'll be right back. Just have to change the set here a little bit, and we have more stories for you. If you're a fan of Old Tales of Nevada, past and present, we are proud to announce that now you can purchase any of our past episodes on our new website, talesofnevada.com. That's right, these stories of our great Nevada history are now available to you on DVD. Over 180 individual episodes featuring the people, places, and stories that have made us all so proud to live in this great state. So get yours today, a piece of Nevada history. Visit talesofnevada.com. All right, we made our set change here, and we're back to just two of us. And now I mentioned earlier that Dennis had to run off and do a military show.
As a matter of fact, I'm glad you said that, John, because here's why. Dennis Romeo and another gentleman, Ricky Harrell, they do a show called Military Matters, and it's all for our United States veterans. The only, if you will, veteran show that I'm aware of where they actually have the people from recruitment centers as part of the set. They come in and they talk to the young people about joining our armed forces nationwide. And
that's great.
I love that. And they also address issues like how many homeless veterans, 1 out of 4 homeless are veterans.
Yeah.
You know, and it just needs to have something done about it, how many suicides there are. They really address the issues. Very proud of them. And they're one of over 40 different talk shows that America Matters Media has at the Reno Town Mall.
Okay. Check it out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be something there for everybody.
Including, by the way, one of my favorite talk shows. We do the audio version of Old Tales of Nevada.
There you go. I like it. And cooking shows, lawyer shows, business shows.
Yes.
A great variety, yeah. Well, going back to just radio again, and we were talking as we broke before Dennis had to leave, how, they got involved with all of these nonprofits and some of the big events that we have in Reno today started with small beginnings with the help of radio station. One of those being Hot August Nights. Right?
I'm so glad you brought that up because your partner, Jim Webster, are you kidding me? Nothing is more important, really, when you think about it, to our economy here as an event like Hot August Nights.
Right,
and Jim's the one who kind of got it all going.
Yeah, and it was an Easter Seals charity event
That's
at one time.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, and I believe the radio station that got behind it was KROI, right?
That is correct.
That is correct. And I think Jeff Foster was the general manager back in those days, and they got involved and helped Jim meet some people that had some creative ideas. And before you know, we have an event.
It is the Super Bowl of automotive events. Nationwide.
Isn't that amazing?
End of story.
Yeah.
And your partner Jim Webster was really, I'm going to say, one of the brains behind it all. And look where it is today.
I always thought he was the brawn.
He could have been. He could have been both.
Yeah, maybe he was both.
He could be both.
I heard he was carrying lights.
That's right.
The lights fell down, and but after all, even with him there, it became a success.
That's right.
So, but there was probably others that you were probably involved with, right? What were some of your favorite events that you got involved with as a radio guy here?
Well, I tell you, and it's very simple.
Yeah.
It's the community atmosphere. When I first started with the in front of a live audience attitude, and I said, we're going to do it different than any other radio talk show has ever done it. We're going to do it in front of a live audience where you can hear everything going on. And I got the support of then Harris, with Mr. Hara himself. I got the support of John Esquaga when it was John Esquaga's Nugget with John there.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, the first 3 people that I met when I came into town in 1969 was Mr. Bill Hara and Mr. John Esquaga, and I was introduced to them by a gentleman named Floyd, who was then president and CEO of Harris. He introduced me to them, and we went to lunch in Sacramento on Bill's private jet.
Oh,
and I was in my 20s, and I hadn't been here 24 hours, and I said, I'm never leaving.
Really, same thing. You never leave.
That's
right. So I would imagine with your involvement in community radio, you're probably sitting there sometimes doing a show, and you're getting some input from the community, and you're going to say, I didn't know that was really what the community felt about a certain issue or an event or whatever. Yeah. Don't you get surprised by that?
You know what? All the time. And I'll tell you who else gets surprised, and that's the people who I brought in. Now, remember, I'm nothing but everybody's kind of Ed McMahon.
Yeah.
Okay? For example, we did a show, and we're kicking it off again with our new mayor. Okay? We're going to have Hillary. We're going to have, hopefully, Gino Martini. He's already committed.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Hillary. And then I know that we have other mayors who have committed to do Valley Views. Now, that all started with Bob Cashell, Tony Armstrong when he was alive, and then Gino took over for him, and then once a week, when we did Valley Views, we had Oscar Goodman, then the mayor of Las Vegas. He would actually either come in or call into the show. So we did a show called Valley Views. Now, you talk about community. The mayor's got to hear how the community really feels. And I got to hear it myself. Matter of fact, one of the things that was told to me was, and one of my fondest memories, was Oscar Goodman, mayor of Las Vegas. And I said to him, in all honesty, I said, Mayor Goodman, is there any higher political office here in the state of Nevada that you would like to run for besides mayor of Las Vegas? And his exact words to me were, Eddie, there is no higher office than mayor of Las Vegas. And then I started thinking, and we started laughing. Bob Cushell and at the time, Tony Armstrong, mayor of Sparks at the time, before Gino. Gino was on city council. They all said, you know what? He's right. Go anywhere in the world, and probably only about 50% of the people are going to say they've heard of Nevada. But go anywhere in the world, 90% are going to say they've heard of Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, so you know what's neat about people being able to come on the radio via phone or sitting in a live audience is it's unfiltered.
Absolutely.
You know, they're not sitting in a city council chamber with somebody taking notes or security surrounding them. So they're a lot more at ease and probably more apt to really let fly whatever their feelings are, good or bad, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, John, I know you've probably experienced this too. We're live. We're live every day, and I'm very, very, very fortunate because for over 3 decades now, I have never once used a dump button ever. In other words, there have been people who've come on, and we've been very fortunate because sometimes you think somebody might come on, rant and rave and use profanity. Yeah. But I think
pretty respectful.
Well, yeah, and if it's controlled the way you control Old Tales of Nevada, you know that Eddie's not going to blurt out anything.
Exactly.
You're going to not have to yell cut.
Well, you know, with our show, we try not to get into the divisive political side of life because there's plenty of shows that do that. You probably have a show on your air that does that. But we try to take the positive side of whoever we talk with. So it's an easier format for us, you know.
And you know what? I'm so glad you said that. That morning show, AM News, we will listen to different radio talk show hosts. We have 19 different radio talk show hosts from both sides of the aisle politically. They, John, will call in to AM News and we let them give their rant, but we do not take sides.
Right.
We absolutely endorse no one and invite everyone to come on to our show.
You're fair and balanced, in other words.
Yeah, I'd like to say that.
Yeah. Well, you know, we've had the opportunity, and we're still looking for the actual fulfillment of the promise to have Harry Reid on the show.
Right.
And, you know, people say, well, how can you interview him? You know, and because he's so one-sided, so political, so whatever, as people say.
You know, may I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll tell you why. Because when you mentioned Harry Reid, okay, now, when I first started with the talk show Nevada Matters, we had shows like Valley Views. We had State Your Case with then Secretary of State Dean Heller, now our great United States Senator, along with Harry Reid. But here's the amazing thing. If it's handled properly, and remember, this is at a time when I was at Park Lane Mall when all 6 constitutional officers were Republican, but the most, if you will, the most taped person on my Nevada Matters was Harry Reid.
Harry Reid, yeah.
He would stop unbeknownst to us.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to us, he would stop and say, Eddie, do you mind? I even have a soundbite with him saying, here on Nevada Matters, you have some of the most intelligent audience I've ever played to in my life, and I kept that soundbite.
Yeah, and even though they were Republicans, he gave them that kudo.
Well, and here's the thing: we gave everybody, like you said, equal opportunity to be heard.
Yeah. Well, if I had Harry Reid on, it would be about him as a man, about his history, about his life in Nevada. What's it like in the day of the life of the majority leader of the U.S. Senate? That's got to be pretty amazing, right?
Yeah. First question I want to say is, hey, what about this exercise equipment?
Yeah.
You know? What are you doing, Senator?
So we know
down.
Not to buy that particular piece, right?
That's right.
But the thing is that radio interviews can be so much fun. Or TV or radio, because you can control the content. You can make it whatever you want it to be, you know?
And you know, you never know what you're going to get either, John, because like we were mentioning earlier in your show, when Dennis had the opportunity to be here before Military Matters, Jeff Foxworthy called in. Well, about 3 days later, he called in. He said, I don't really have anything to report, but I wanted to warn your listeners here on AM News that if they listen to Eddie Floyd, they just might be a redneck. And I loved it.
There you go. Yeah. Well, you know, radio, I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, but, you know, you go back in time 30, 40 years, ownership of the radio stations were different than they are today.
Yes.
I mean, in the old days, it was a guy like, you know, maybe it's or maybe it's John Esquaga. They buy a radio station.
Well, Bob, right now, how about Bob Carroll?
Bob Carroll,
yeah, sure.
Somebody somebody like yourself. That's the way it was back in the old days.
Right.
And they weren't so concerned about every minute being a profit center, you know.
Exactly.
and they let the jocks be themselves and enjoy the back and forth with their guest or with the community, and that was so much fun, you know. And they could be creative and do all those things. Now they put somebody on the air and they get a list of liners that they have to read. Okay, that's why you hear the call letters 25 times in an hour, right?
Exactly.
And they're doing it so they can get ratings, and in turn, if they get ratings, they can ask more for their spots. So it's all bean counters now.
And we're trying to bring it back. We're trying to bring back community radio.
Let's take another break here on Old Tales of Nevada. We'll be back again with Eddie Floyd and talk more about the great business of broadcasting here in northern Nevada.
Hi there, I'm Roy Marshall of the Marshall Mint in Virginia City, Nevada. I'm proud to announce that our 7-ingot set honoring the V&T Railroad is now finished.
That's right, Roy. These beautiful 999 silver ingots celebrate the engines from the world-famous V&T Railroad and honor Nevada's sesquicentennial. These limited edition treasures can be purchased only at the Marshall Mint in Virginia City, Nevada.
Or visit us at marshallmint.com to get yours today.
Get the Charter Spectrum Triple Play. It's more than meets the eye. With over 200 free HD channels available, it's the most HD you can get. Instant access to over 10,000 on-demand movies and shows. Plus the Charter app for live TV that jumps to mobile devices in any room. All that for $29.99 a month. Switch to Charter Spectrum Internet, faster than the speed of WOW. Take off with 60 megs of speed, bandwidth that lets multi-people multitask, stream movies, play games, watch videos, and share vines all at once. No slowdowns. Shazam! For only $29.99 a month. Just call 877-959-1634. Then pick up Charter Spectrum Voice for unlimited local and long-distance calling. And catch this. No drop calls. Stuck in a contract? Charter pays up to $500 to get you out. Charter Spectrum TV, Internet, and Voice, $29.99 a month each. Call 877-959-1634. See for yourself. Call Charter today.
We're back for our last segment here of Old Tales Nevada, past and present. We're having a great story here with our good friend Eddie Floyd from America Matters Media, and he just does a great job over there. If you want to find him, you're in the Old Town Mall.
Reno
they still call it the Old Town Mall?
Well,
Reno
I
Town
do.
Mall.
You and I call it the Old Town Mall.
Going back a few
now
years.
It's called the Reno Town Mall. It's directly across from the Reno Sparks Convention Center.
Walk right in and you'll see the doors are wide open, and there's even a place to sit down and watch the show if you want to.
And get involved. That's the other thing that I think, because we talked in that last segment about corporations and radio today. That's the other thing. Do you realize that on 95% of our talk shows, you can actually come into the Reno Town Mall, walk in, take your turn, and get behind a microphone.
How about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, you can be a star. You too can be a star.
Or you can be bit by the media.
That's for sure.
That's right.
Well, when I was last in corporate broadcast, I was in sales management at a corporation, and it was so difficult to work with people who owned the radio station, but they weren't here in Reno. They were in L.A., okay?
Right.
And everything was top-down driven.
Oh, absolutely.
Any package you came together with was sent down from corporate, right? Had no idea, really, as to what was going on in old Reno town or northern Nevada, but they thought they did. Okay?
John, I tell you what, I would last somewhere between 30 and 40 seconds working for that.
Yeah, right.
Okay, because to me, that's not what community radio should be.
Yeah.
Community radio should be a vehicle to help the economy and to help the individuals in the community, including every nonprofit that we have.
Right. Well, I think that's one reason why Sirius Radio, which is a good service, got a great variety of music, Pandora, all those kind of services. If you listen to music, that's great. It gives you a lot of music, and it's all it is music. But you don't get the local content, so you don't find out what the weather's going to be. You don't know what the traffic's going to be. You don't know if little Johnny is lost someplace and needs to to be found. Right. And that's where radio, the intimacy of radio becomes so important, you know. And I think that's where the major corporations miss the point with all these liners they do and not allowing the jocks to become involved.
And, you know, John, you hit the nail on the head, because let's face it, you and I and Jim Webster were talking earlier, almost all of our television stations today, almost all of our radio stations today, and almost all of our print media today, all of them, and I'm talking about almost every one of them, are now owned by 6 major corporations.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
And that's amazing.
Yeah, well, and what happens is these large corporations that own radio stations, right?
Right.
Like KOH is owned by Cumulus, right? And they have a certain political slant. All right. That they want to portray
and
to the nation.
That's right. And they're going to get that slant out there.
Right.
And, you know, not like the old days, because you and I both remember years and years and years ago. Matter of fact, and he does a phenomenal job. I mean, you know, let's face it. Ross Mitchell in the morning, I give him kudos all the time. Ross Mitchell and Monica, you know, Monica J., they do such a phenomenal job. They're on when I'm on.
Right.
But I always pay kudos to them. Sure. But I remember when Ross Mitchell was the board man for Lou Gutenberg.
Right.
Okay, see, I'm so old.
He stuck around a long time.
That's right.
Yeah, but if they have a liberal viewpoint, I'm not saying what they are, but if they did, they put on and dictate the programming for these radio stations to run, so that they get that viewpoint out. If it's a conservative group, then they dictate to this local community what they're going to do. And I think that's the wrong thing to do, because I think the local radio stations should have that control and viewpoint, and probably do a better job of it.
And you know, I'm glad you brought it up. We're very proud about one thing, okay? You know, when you talk about liberal and when you talk about conservative, you know, I obviously come from the right side of the aisle. Dennis, I don't know if you know this, comes more from the left side of the aisle. He says middle of the aisle, but I've never seen him in the middle of my life. But, you know, here's the thing at America Matters Media. If you walk in and you know the day and you can look at our schedule, you'll say, oh, I see today, Monday, okay, is going to be basically liberal side of the world. Okay, we have 3 hours of Chip Evans. He is the past chairperson for the Washoe County Democratic Party. 3 hours of Chip. I've never listened to the show. I'm just kidding. No, he does a great job.
Yeah, right.
And then on Thursdays, you have our state senator, Don Gustafson, Assemblyman Jim Wheeler. They do conversations from the Capitol. We try to balance everything out so that people, no matter when they come, they'll hear a little bit of both sides.
Yeah, that's even that's so important, because I know in some corporations they will even dictate the editorial side of the station. So if the GM has an opportunity to get on air or do an editorial, they'll tell them what to say.
Yes.
You know? And that's what's so neat about community radio, or what you're doing, is because you can pick and choose what's best for the community. For example, your nonprofit adoption of the Wainema Ranch project, you talked about the hippotherapy with Dr. Forsyth, but it's a lot more than that.
Absolutely.
And it's so important to Nevada and the historical side of Nevada, what you're doing up there. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Thank you, John, for that. Yes, Dr. James Forsyth, his beautiful wife, Earlene, have teamed up with my wife, okay, Shari Floyd, and also Lacey J. Dalton. She's out there at the Wainema Ranch.
Right.
And what they're doing is they want his cancer patients, they want the United States veterans suffering from PTSD, TBI, traumatic brain injury. They want children with special needs to all be able to go to the Wainema Ranch, where they'll have a little western town. Okay, they'll have a amphitheater for country western music. There'll be a stagecoach there, thanks to Gary Teal.
Gary Teal, sure.
Great job. And I'll share something with you. One of the things they want to do by doing this is help the patients, number one. Number two, preserve our American heritage, the wild horses and burros. You know, we're on Old Tales of Nevada.
Right.
Let's talk Nevada. Nevada has the largest herd of wild horses in the nation.
That's amazing.
Period.
Yeah.
And we need to utilize that fact and turn it into income producing so that they can self-sustain themselves and not be taken off and disappear.
So you're like the incubator for that kind of project.
Absolutely.
Where they call that eco-preservation or something like that.
Right.
Is that what you call it?
That's right.
For the horses.
Right.
But there is room for more of that kind of project.
Absolutely.
For example, I would say Virginia City should have a Mustang preservation up there, a place where people can see them.
They're getting it. Okay. As a matter of fact, Dr. Pat Coletti, and see, the one thing about what we're doing at the Wainema Ranch, and I jokingly say my wife runs the ranch and I run my mouth on the radio, but the reality is what her, Lacey J. Dalton, Dr. James Forsyth Erling, what they're doing. We don't have competition. We want Dr. Pat Coletti up in Virginia City.
Sure.
We want more, if you will, more sanctuaries like Wainema Wild Horse Sanctuary.
There you go.
That way, the horses can live their lives out.
Right.
We can keep that breed going, and they're not going to disappear like so many other things.
Because they have such a great history.
Oh,
you go back to World War II, the Mustangs, if they weren't available and they didn't, weren't recruited into the army, it would have been a lot tougher war because these Mustangs were so hardy. They're so strong and so niche-y, just the right niche actually for the World War II effort.
Absolutely, John. And let's face it, the West was settled on the back of horses.
Yes,
and mules and donkeys and all of the pack animals that were utilized, and they were very instrumental in winning the wars that we had to win. And I'm talking about every single war. Equines have played a role.
Yeah, so that's a great project you're doing up there. And again, it's because you have the independence to do it. If you were involved, say, with some of these large corporations that own these groups, you may not get the opportunity to help out like that.
Absolutely. And what's so amazing is, when you have such wonderful people like our Congressman Mark Amadei, every now and then I'll look up from the set and I'll see someone like Congressman Mark Amadei, someone like some of our state senators and assemblymen, and they'll just be wandering into the studio because they have something to say. Well, stop the presses. Let's hear it, because that's what community radio is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So we appreciate you keeping that alive for us. And
thanks to
not only alive, but I think it's prospering around the country again. I think there's been a turn by the townsfolk themselves. They want local information.
Absolutely. Here's the thing. When you have the opportunity to get the voice out there, we want the sheriff to come once a week. Chuck Allen has said that he would like to come in and once again do what Sheriff Dennis Balaam did, a show called Inside the Sheriff's Office. For years, our Washoe County District Attorney did a show called Mr. DA. We want to try to do that again. So that
Why not?
That's right. And by the way, another show that's being created right now is Trooper Talk. So that people know the laws. They know what's going on and can be safer on the highways.
And it develops a level of trust. You feel like you know the person better.
Exactly.
I recently, involved with an organization that's headquartered out east. Well, they've developed a website, and you can go to that website and you can see the ones that are ramrodding the effort. Well, that leads us to the close of the show. I know you have lots of shows, but if somebody had an idea for a radio show,
absolutely,
a creative idea, they can get a hold of you, right, Eddie?
Absolutely.
Okay, and how do they get a hold of you?
Well, let me tell you what, and hopefully we'll be able to run it on the television.
Yeah, we will.
Okay, but right now, I welcome any and all calls. We are opening up because another larger company has come to us and said, we love what America Matters Media is doing.
So you need content.
Will you handle daytime programming 6A to 6P? We're going to do that. We're open right now. We have room for 39 hours of talk shows.
Give us a contact.
Call me. Ready? It is 775-384-4444. 775-384-4444 or Eddie at americamatters.us.
All right. Eddie, thanks so much for being on the show today, and express our appreciation to Dennis Romeo as well, and all the folks over there at America Matters Radio. Thanks for running our show, by the way.
Thank you.
We want to thank the audience today for being with us for another show here on Northern Nevada's Old Tales of Nevada Past and Present. In the meantime, Eddie and I say, have a great Nevada day.
Amen.